Hey guys, since you're tuning in today we are doing braised short ribs. This is one of my favorite things to eat. If I go out to eat and they have it on the menu, I usually get it. I'll make them at home too, so I want to show you guys how easy it is to do it at home, because it's really not that hard to do. It's just, it takes a while because you gotta braise them. But if you scroll down, check out the recipe, we have how to braise them in a Dutch oven, in your oven or on your stove, how to do it in a crock pot, or how to do it in an electric pressure cooker. So you can do it any way you prefer. I got it all. Just scroll down a little bit and you'll see it. But we're going to go ahead and get started. I got a couple of short ribs here, and I'm just going to dredge them in a little bit of flour. I got a 1/4 cup of flour, salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder here. Just going to mix this up real quick to kind of get everything incorporated. Break up a couple of those clumps of spices and flour. I'm just going to take my short rib here and roll it in the flour. This is going to kind of give it a nice little crust on it, and then whenever it braises, it'll kind of help thicken up the sauce as well because of the flour. And I'm going to put this bone side up, so I'll show you on the other one a little bit easier. So I'm just going to put this right in my pan here. I got it preheated a little bit of oil. When you look at it, you can see that bone right there. It'll be pretty distinctive. And on the bottom here, it's pretty hard and flat and white. And then on the top, you got meat. This is kind of closer to the edge, so there's not as much meat as that one or the ones I did earlier for the demo. But it'll still be a tasty, tasty treat. So I'm just going to press this one in the flour on all sides as well. Sometimes you gotta kind of help the flour stick to it. And then we will get both ends, take off the excess, put that one in the pot as well. Now I can get rid of all this. And then we just need to start getting our veggies ready. So I got 2 carrots, an onion, 2 stalks of celery, some garlic cloves, basil, and a few sprigs of thyme. We'll put all this in there. When I do this at home, I usually throw a couple extra carrots in there just because I'll take those and then kind of saute them and eat them as a side with the short ribs, which I'll show you guys how to do that here in a second, because I did a couple extra in my other pot. But the prep for all this stuff is pretty easy. You're just going to cut both ends off the onion, cut it in half, and we'll peel the skin off of it. And if it falls apart while you do that, it's alright, because I mean, you're going to break it all up and stuff whenever you start cooking. You get the skin, there we go. Then just peel the skin off this side too. Or we'll just take that last layer off. Throw all that away because I don't need it. And before we start chopping all that up, I'm going to go ahead and peel my carrots. That way we can get all the trash stuff out of the way. If you got a compost pile, the carrot peelings would be great for your compost. Same with the onion skins. Just be careful for throwing the roots in there because they could potentially grow. Or if you like to make your own homemade stock, the skins of the onion, the peeling from the carrots, you can put those in a Ziploc bag, put those in your freezer. And then when you save up enough, you can put those in a pot of water with some seasonings and other vegetables and make a nice stock with them. So we're going to clear away these peelings here. And I'm going to give my short ribs a little look. So see how we got a nice color on there. We're just going to flip these to the other side. And let them kind of sear on that side as well. Get everyone out of here. Alright. And then for the onions, we're going to do what I like to call a tic-tac-toe cut, because we're just basically going to cut it in thirds one way, turn it, cut it in thirds the other way, and it looks like a tic-tac-toe board. And we'll kind of put that off to the side. Do the same with this one. turn it. Lost a little bit of my onion, but it's alright. For my carrot, I'm just going to cut off the stem end and about halfway. I'll just kind of cut it on bias so it looks pretty. You can just cut it in half if you want. Or if you don't have these, just throw a bunch of baby carrots in there and it'll be all good. For my celery, I'm just kind of cutting that middle out. Just kind of cutting these into big pieces. We're not going to be eating this, or at least I don't, so I'm not too worried about the size of them. It's more for the flavors it's going to add to the cooking liquid. So that's all done. I'm going to turn this on the side real quick. You just kind of want to sear all the sides. That way you got a nice little coat on everything. Build up some flavor. So that way it's going to be yummy whenever you get to the eating process. Like I said, this takes a little bit to do, but it's well worth it. If you've had short ribs, you get it. They're a labor of love, but it's good love. Let's go and turn this on the other side now. This one doesn't really have a side to stand on over there, so I'm just going to leave it on its bigger side for a little bit. Then once we got that done, we're going to add our veggies to the pot, give those a little bit of a sear real quick, just so we can build a little bit of flavor on them. So I'm going to take a plate here and just kind of take these out for a second. We're going to throw our veggies in there and let those start searing up. And for our garlic, just want to leave these whole, because that way they won't burn, and they can kind of, we still get that nice flavor out of them. And if you do eat them, they're going to be nice and tender and delicious at the end of the sauté process. So this you probably just need 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how much of a sear you want to put on them. You can skip the searing part and just put everything in there and let it go. It'll be fine, but this just adds kind of another little hidden layer of flavor in there that I like. Then once this has been going for a little bit, I'm just going to take my tomato paste and add it in there. This is going to add a nice richness to the pot, or to the braising liquid, and you'll be able to kind of tell it's in there, but not necessarily go, oh, there's tomato here. You just have that nice unctuousness that it'll give it. I'm going to grab a spoon real quick and stir it. One of these days I'll remember to grab everything I need before I start the video. So I'm just kind of stirring that tomato paste into everything, getting a little color on it. This also kind of helps take that metallic taste out of it. It caramelizes the tomato paste a little bit to give everything a little more depth of flavor. If you did this in a Dutch oven, I only got one Dutch oven here because I have to bring mine from home. Whenever you sear it, you'll get a little bit of brown bits on bottom called thyme. The tomato paste will kind of help bring those out, and then when we deglaze with the wine here in a second, that will also help bring up that thyme and build up some more flavor. So we got our tomato paste kind of cooked down a little bit. So we're going to add 2 cups of red wine. Make sure it's something that you drink, because you don't want to cook with bad wine. So yep, it's drinkable. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon, so it's not super sweet, but it has a nice flavor to it. Save that for a glass for dinner now. So I'm just kind of mixing that in with the tomato paste, kind of getting it dissolved. You can, whenever you do it, you can kind of tell at home that the tomato paste kind of also helps thicken up the red wine. Then we'll add 2 cups of beef broth, and that little lump of stuff is, I use beef base, and they just hadn't dissolved in my liquid yet. it'll dissolve in the cooking process, so I'm not too worried about that. My sprigs of thyme, my bay leaves. Remember, whenever you use bay leaves, to take them out before you eat them, because they're not that good to eat. I'm just going to take my short ribs, kind of wedge them back in there, and then at this point I'd cover it, throw it in the oven for 2.5 hours at 350. You can put it in your you can do all this, put it into your crock pot, and let your crock pot go for 4 hours on low, or 4 hours on high, 8 hours on low. Or if you have an electric pressure cooker, put on manual high for about 40 to 45 minutes. Let it do its thing, and then let it natural pressure release for 10 minutes before you try opening it. So we're just going to kind of move that guy out of the way for a second. Oh, and we need a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce in there. That adds a nice little secret bit of flavor. So I have some done here that look amazing. You can see that liquid cooked down. The short ribs are nice and tender. I can't wait to eat these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my short ribs out of the liquid. I'm just going to put them here on my cutting board. That way I can thicken up this juice. Like I said, the bay leaves, take those out. We don't need them anymore. These things smell amazing. And then I'm just going to take a slotted spoon here, and bowl. I'm going to kind of scoop out all this vegetable matter, so that way I can make a sauce from the bit that's left here in the pot. I think I might need to add a little bit more liquid to it, because I think it cooked down a little more than I thought. So I'm going to add a little more beef broth to this, and then we're going to make some gravy. So I'm just going to put this over medium-high heat. Get some water here. When I've done it at home, it hasn't reduced that much, so I'm just going to add a little bit more beef broth to it so I can get more gravy, because I love gravy. This is just some beef base here. So I'm going to add my water and my beef base. I'm going to kind of scrape down these edges to get all that yummy stuff back into the gravy. And I just need to let that come up to a boil. And then over here on the side, I like short ribs with polenta or grits. So I got 1 cup of chicken broth, 1 cup of, whole milk. And I'm just going to add some cornmeal or grits to it. You want to bring this up to simmer, which this is starting to bubble around the edges a little bit. So I'm just going to pour some. If you scroll way back on our Facebook page, you'll actually find a recipe for this. But start with a cup of chicken stock, a cup of milk, bring it up to a simmer, and then add about half cup to 3/4 cup of cornmeal. And if it's not thick enough for you yet, add a little more. If it's too thick, add a little more milk or chicken broth to it to thin it out. Then we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter to it to kind of give it a little more love. I'm going to add my butter. So you can see this already got pretty thick on me. So I'm gonna work that butter in and hope that loosens it up a little bit. And if not, I got some milk here. I can add a little bit more milk to it, which I think I'm gonna need to add a little more milk, which isn't a problem. Add a little at a time, so that way you can keep adjusting. And I'm going to get another pan ready because, as I was telling y'all, I like saving those carrots and kind of cook them a little bit. So I'm going to take probably about a tablespoon of olive oil and about a tablespoon of butter. You can do all butter or all olive oil. Don't drop the butter on the floor like I just did. And this will give us a nice flavor for our carrots. I'm going to put this over at medium-high heat. Then we'll let this melt. Then we'll take our carrots and kind of put them in there. Just going to sear them a little bit, give them a little crust, because they're nice and tender for where they cooked for so long in that braise. Now we're just going to sear them up, and they're going to be an awesome side dish. So we're starting to get some bubbles here with our gravy. Just going to kind of stir this up a little bit because there's some stuff on the bottom that I want in my gravy. Get it all nice and delicious. Kind of scraping the sides down so we get all that nice fond and flavor back into our gravy. Now I forgot my cornstarch, like I did my spoon, so I'm going to grab my cornstarch and I'll be right back. So I got my cornstarch here. And I'm going to take about 3 tablespoons. And I know I'm using the cup I just did my beef broth in, but I'm putting it right back into that beef broth. So just add a little more flavor. Then maybe 1/4 cup of water. You just kind of want to turn this powder into kind of like a little slurry, make it liquidy. So just taking that, mixing that up, just trying to get all that cornstarch melted into the liquid. Our butter and olive oil is starting to get nice and bubbly, so I'm going to take these carrots, just put it right into that. And these guys are going to get a nice little sear on them, and that's why I kind of cut them into big pieces, so that way when I go to eat them I have nice big yummy carrot pieces to eat, because I love these. And I'll probably add some of those garlic cloves right at the end, just a little more flavor. So our liquid here it's starting to bubble. I'm going to give it just a second longer before I add this, that way I can get a nice good boil. Whenever you add cornstarch or a thickener to your gravies, soups, whatever, you want to make sure it's boiling, so that way it gets evenly distributed and not just fall to the bottom and kind of burn. So I'm going to start stirring this and add and pour my cornstarch a little at a time, so that way I know it gets incorporated, and that way I don't thicken it up too much too fast. Because if you add too much, you got Jello, which I love Jello, but not gravy Jello. I'm going to add a little more here because we're just about there. Then another fun thing too is the cornstarch will also kind of help emulsify that fat, so that way it's not just sitting on the top, so you'll get some of the fat absorbed by the cornstarch as well, which in this case fat equals flavor. So I think we're just about there with our gravy. If you wanted to make a roux, you could have added this to your roux, but I find it easier to kind of do a little cornstarch slurry with this, so that way you can just dump it right in here, and that's nice and thick. Our carrots are starting to get nice, bubbly, and seared. So this is one of my favorite meals to make at home and to eat when I go out. So I'm excited. I might share it with the camera guy. Jonathan, you like short ribs?
Sure.
Yeah. Alright, I guess I'll have to share a little bit. So I'm just kind of searing these up, and once they're ready to go, dinner will be served for me and maybe Jonathan. And this is another one of those ones where if you can smell it, you have that nice braise with the short ribs, the vegetables, and red wine going all day. That you just, or not all day, but a couple hours, it just smells great. So I got the bowl here. I'm going to add a little more milk to my polenta, just kind of help loosen it up. You can add a little Parmesan cheese to this if you want. Cheese makes everything better. Here more. Touch of salt and pepper. Right here. Then we'll get a little more salt. Pepper. Add a little pepper to the gravy. Mix this all up. Get that stir. Turn my carrots one last time. They're starting to get a nice little char or sear on them. You can see where you're getting that nice sear on them. That's going to give it some nice texture. Because these things are really soft. So now you're making them hard again by searing it. So we're going to get a nice little snap on the outside while having a nice tender carrot in the middle. So this one I'll grab another spoon here. Take some polenta here, put it right in the middle of the plate. Kind of spread out, we'll do one more. Spread that out a little bit. Take a nice little short rib. That right on there. Grab a couple of carrots. Do that. Get a little gravy. This is when I need a better spoon. I can't wait to eat this. If you had a couple extra sprigs of thyme that you didn't put into the braising liquid, you can put a sprig on there for garnish, or a little chopped parsley would be great too. I love gravy, so I always put too much on there according to my mother, but it's my food, so. Just going to wipe the edge down a little bit, so that way it looks pretty. And this will be a bigger mess, but there you go. And there we have it. Braised short ribs with polenta and the carrots that they braised with as a side. Hope you guys give that a try. This is one of my favorite recipes to do. I eat it at home. I eat it when I find it on a menu out somewhere. Give it a shot. You can find short ribs most places. This recipe works with oxtail as well. It makes great oxtail. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.